Jerningam here. I'm going to be showing some more Tony Robbins and stuff.
Yesterday, my campaign trail took us to Warren. The footage you're about to see now will completely contradict everything you've been told by the mainstream media, all the journalists and the politicians about what happened that day. From the minute we got there, we faced violent opposition. You'll see now, as a young Muslim agitator aggressively comes towards me and is held back. Twice. There you can see him. This is the man that's been portrayed to the whole country as innocent. He said in his interview he was only going to work. I was following him. You can see him trying to get me. This was as soon as I got there. Okay, he was held back. You see him push a woman out of the way to come aggressively towards me. During this scuffle, he also, according to two ladies, assaults them. You'll now see the footage of the women coming up to me, telling me that he assaults them. The women come with me, they point to the young Muslim gentleman, they point to him to say he's attacked them. The police officers at that point, they ask the police, we want him arrested. You'll hear the woman saying, if I assaulted someone, I'd get arrested. Why is he not getting arrested? We see this so much. If a Muslim woman had been assaulted, yeah, the male who done it would be arrested. Here we have two females, innocent females, in a town centre have come under attack. They've been assaulted. The police officer, rather than dealing with it and doing his job to uphold the law, walks off. He leaves. You'll see as we follow him. Then the ladies talk to a female police officer and they explain to her they want him arrested. She gets in the car, they actually put the blue lights on to leave. You'll hear me telling the police officer, we have a large group of people who are being antisocial. I am on a campaign trail. I'm trying to run as a member of European Parliament. I have a right to do that. I should be protected by the law to do that. We have a group of people who have purposely turned up to intimidate and be violent. And the police refuse to do their job. They've left. The man's standing there, the officers are running away. The women are going up to him, he just assaulted me, your officers are running off. They're actually running away. So another police officer comes around, please go. At this point, the group have continued continued to harass us. I've even gone for lunch. When we've gone for lunch to the market, the group even followed us there. The police are watching all of this. So I go for lunch. I'm followed. I'm harassed. Any other organisation or any other political party or politician who was on a campaign trail, look what happened with Anna Soubry. She was called a Nazi. That man's been arrested. He's been prosecuted and taken to court. Every politician spoke out against him. I've been harassed so far. I've had a young Muslim gentleman try to aggressively get him. We've had 2 women assaulted. I then come back and another young male, another young violent agitator who screams obscenities at me, then physically assaults me. I didn't assault him back. So this is the first time I've been violently assaulted by a member of the public on a campaign trail. Shut up. You don't know nothing, you bitch. Did the police arrest him? I told the police he's assaulted me. I want to press charges. Was he arrested? No. Any journalists can check this out. He was not arrested. He was let go. Then, of course, if it's happened once, it's okay to do. I've been assaulted over the years so many times and nothing is done. The police have a job to do against everyone, evenly, equally. Everyone should be treated equal. Okay? It's not okay to punch me. I'm not a punch bag. Then a young female physically assaults me again for no reason. You can see I'm speaking calmly and nicely. I'm physically attacked again. What
did you fail at school?
Fucking choice to be here.
What's on her chain is for the new Soviet, a fascist.
Oh wow!
You have a chain.
Show the chain there. Show the chain.
Show the communist.
You got a fascist chain.
Are you going to bully me into it? Honestly, do you think I'm
Boy, show me.
You've asked me that multiple times. No, you have asked me that. You have asked me that multiple times. And that is technically kind of harassment. I don't have to answer that.
You've been following me around the day screaming. You say that
I've not been spoken.
I spoke to you quietly.
And she's upset. You interrupted me.
She came up to him. She came up to him.
I go up to the police officer. You watch the footage. I said, I want her arrested. She's physically assaulted me. Was she arrested? No, she wasn't. That's 2 people who've now physically assaulted me in a town centre on a campaign trail. The whole time we're being intimidated, we're being threatened, we're having to think I'm being spat at. The whole time. I'm showing clippings of what has happened. This young Muslim agitator who's been present all day, screaming Nazis, trying to aggressively get at me, is then standing there. I'm standing there, I can see him. I go up to him, I calmly ask him, why have you been violent? Why were you jumping around aggressively all day towards me? At which point, he throws a drink in my face. He was overly aggressive, he was jumping around like he was going to do something. He didn't do shit. The only person you pushed was a woman. No, you was, mate. We'll show you the footage later. So you come here very aggressively, you got over. And the whole world's seen that. A lot of people are having fun about it. Politicians are now laughing about it. The media are making jokes about it. Okay? I didn't know at that time what he's thrown at me. I just know I've got liquid all over my face. This is the 3rd time I've been violently. That is an assault. Okay? Someone threw an egg against Jeremy Corbyn's head. They got 28 days in jail. Everyone condemned it. But when it's Tommy Robinson, everyone's celebrating this. Okay? Now, you'd think I'm running as a candidate in an election campaign. It is not okay behaviour to violently attack me time and time again. But you wouldn't think that by any of the responses to what's happened today. The responses, now as he walked off, has he been arrested? Can I ask you, yeah, of the people I gave you today, the soldiers, I handed them to you. You walked off with them. How many of them are in cells?
I haven't actually walked up with them.
You obviously did. How many of them are in
I
cells?
don't know because I'm not in contact with
None of them. None of them are in the
So
cell.
I don't know.
None of them. So assaulted me 3 different people. None of them are in the cell. You've seen what he done. Was he arrested? No, he wasn't. Let's have a look what he says the police done afterwards. There you can read it. Police dropped him off at the train station, told him not to worry about it. It's okay to assault Tommy Robinson. It's fine. He's celebrating with his little Islamic phrase at the end in a taxi.
Yes, bro.
Yes, G.
How are you, man?
Respect. BB1. All the way.
Did you even get nicked?
Nah, bro.
Yeah, man. Everything's blessed, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, lana shukr.
Not just this, but this has been celebrated by politicians, by Conservative MPs, by the head of the Daily Mirror. The entire mainstream media and journalists are celebrating the fact that in our democracy, so-called democracy, I don't have the freedom to go, and I'm not protected by the law. People are allowed to physically assault me. This has happened time and time again over the years. The Guardian. Let's have a look at the mainstream media. Let's have a look what they reported on this case. They reported, when they interviewed the man who assaulted me, they reported that his milkshake slipped. They actually run this story, that it slipped. Let's watch that again. He was jumping around like he was going to do something. He didn't do shit. The only person you pushed was a ball. No, you was, mate. We'll show you the footage later. So you come in very aggressively, you got over it. How can your media, how can they do that? How can they just lie? All of them. Unbelievable. This is what we're up against. I'm going to get up against everything and everyone. The establishment, the media, the far left violently attacking me, the Muslims violently attacking me. Give me your vote. Teach them. Show them. Now, don't be fooled into thinking this is what happened the entire day in Warren. I'll now show you the amazing reception I received by the general public in that beautiful city.
What's going on, EJ? I'm just doing a video at the minute. Right, I had to pause the video a minute because I'm in the party chat as well, guys, as you can see. I've invited some other people in the party chat. And now I'm doing this as well. But I had to pause it for a minute, the video as you saw. Because I'm in the party chat as well, even though I'm filming this. My video.
So I'm free to hold my election campaign in any town and city in this country. What this is about is trying to shut me down, trying to scare and intimidate me, because they fear me winning this election. They fear you having a voice. They fear a message being shown to the world that the British working class communities have had enough of this unfair system. I'm going to have to go into Owen, into Rochdale. I want to, because I want to speak for those people who have been left in those towns and cities that are being abused, that face hostility on a daily basis, that have been betrayed at every single level. I want to be their voice. I'm coming to your town. I need your support. You've witnessed yesterday, I had hired security. But we can't afford 10 security people. I simply can't afford them. I want to be alive on the 23rd of May. Okay? This has happened in Warren and in Bury. I'm being surrounded by groups of young Muslims and activists, far left activists. I need to be able to go to these towns and cities. I need security. I should have security every day of the week, but I don't. I'm rolling up in these town centres with 2 or 3 men. That's it. 2 or 3 men. And we all know what can happen. That milkshake could have been acid. And at some point it will be. I genuinely believe that. I want to be alive on the 23rd of May to show the world that I've just won the northwest of England's vote. Okay? I need your help. If you can support me so I can hire proper security for the rest of the 4 weeks You can do so at www.votesforme.co.uk. I need your help. We're in Midland today. See you all there.
Interesting video. I'm going to move on to the next video and have a look. So I'm going to try and find the next video for you guys to see in a minute. So I'm going to see the other one I was just trying to find. The 4 hours one, I think. This is the 4 hours one.
I promise you, I will be a voice. I will never be politically correct, as I'm sure
This video was like 4 hours ago, but yeah.
I will never shy away, and I do it because I care. When you look at politicians, I watch all these politicians, and I watch them speaking, and I say, I don't even think you believe what you're saying. And there's one thing that people can guarantee with me, they know I believe this. They know I believe it. I care. I love our country. I love it. I want what's best for it. Every one of us have a duty. Ranking. Hello, Preston. Have we voted this week? Come on. You see what you just watched there? I bet many of you have already seen it. Hopefully you've seen it. The censorship already. This video has gone up on multiple different people's YouTube channels and it's been censored. Age appropriate, can't be shared, can't be commented. They don't want the public to see the reality. This was orchestrated. You witnessed. I started on that because we were sat around the corner in the middle of that estate, and a lady who lives in the house next door come over and said, "I'm sorry, I watched your video in Oldham, and I saw what happened. Can you guarantee me the hundreds of masked up balaclavaed men are not going to come here and attack you?" I said, "I can't." So, "Can you guarantee the police will stop them?" I said, "I can't." So, "Well, I've got my children here. I'm not part of this political rally, and I don't feel safe." The fact that people can't have political rallies without that level of fear is the reality of where we're at. So we agreed to move. The fact that all of you have watched that video and you've still come down, you're still standing here, sends everyone a message. It sends them all a message. And I go, this is probably the best crowd we've had all across the North West. Come on, Preston!
There's a lot of people there in Preston,
I'm getting more and more popular as the days go on in this
UK, as you can see.
We're winning! So, we have a reporter here from the local newspaper. Do we see... No, let's see what comes out. Do you see far-right Birxit? Or do you see families and normal British people? Please report. Please report. Please report what you see. Please report what you see. To every one of you, we are going to make history this week. Never before has an independent won in the European elections. Never before. Never before. You've seen what they're doing to us. We've seen police interference in Cumbria. We've seen all of our social media removed. We're not fighting a fair election. Everything has been shut down and silenced. My ability to speak to you has gone on social media. It's gone. And against all of that, we're going to absolutely smash it this week. We must, you see what we're doing now? You see, bringing our communities together. Every one of you getting to know each other. We've created a movement of people. Look. Hello again. Look around you. Look around you. Feel your strength. This is part of a tidal wave of patriotism that is sweeping across the Northwest for the last 3 weeks. Until we organise, what we've become as a society is selfish. Most of us care about ourselves and only ourselves. People, I understand it. 10 years ago when I started my activism, I wore a mask and I used a fake name. I did that. Yeah, unless you didn't know, my name's Stephen Yaxley Lennon. I'm sure the journalist from the Lancaster Post will tell you so in their article. I know, I'm only joking, mate. Okay, tell the journalist the racist story. Stop lying to him. So, I wore a mask and I used a fake name because I was scared. I know that everyone has been scared. I was scared of losing my job. I was scared of violent attacks. I know that every single one of you, even sharing articles, can bring social problems. Even I say that every rally I go to, and people come up to me afterwards and say, I don't want to hot some bloke up, so I'm going to change the make of the car he told his wife he was going to look at. But every single place I go, I say, some of you probably have to lie about where you're going. Make excuses. Some bloke come up to me afterwards and said, my wife thinks I'm going to look at a BMW today. And here I am. So I know what it means to take that step. I know what it means to finally come out, to finally speak your opinion. Too many people in this country feel censored and feel silenced. The reason a movement is built behind us, we started 10 years ago, it's grown and grown and grown and grown. The reason is because people don't feel free. I wouldn't say it is me. I'd say it's the fact that people everywhere across this country feel silenced. They feel voiceless. They're watching their country change for the worse, and there's no one saying anything about it. They're witnessing the decay. We have 650 MPs, and not one of them has ever stood up and said one critical word about the problems we see from a certain section of a community in our country. I'm asking every one of you, I want to be your voice. I want to be your voice. And I've watched when I was, after my court case got kicked out of the Old Bailey. Who was there that day? Who was there that day? Wow, historic moment. When that happened, I was invited to dinner at the House of Lords by Lord Pearson. I went for dinner, and then I watched on the news the next day the sneering by the politicians, the lies they told, their contempt for us, not for me, for us, the labelling of us as people. It's disgusting. I remember watching it that day and thinking, one day I'm going to sit in there amongst you, and it's going to rock that building. I'm asking you now. Conor McGregor, on the 23rd of May, we have an opportunity to strike like a bolt of lightning right into the middle of them. Send me in, please. Send me in. I promise you, I will be a voice. I will never be politically correct, as I'm sure you've all worked out by now. I will never shy away, and I do it because I care. When you look at politicians, I watch all these politicians, and I watch them speaking. I say, I don't even think you believe what you're saying. And there's one thing that people guarantee with me, they know I believe this. They know I believe it. I care. I love our country. I love it. I want what's best for it. Every one of us have a duty.
Interesting indeed. What one said to me. We'll try and get the other one. Just trying to get down to the other one I can see. There we go.
I'm sitting here with the oh-so-controversial Tommy Robinson. Tommy, how are you?
MEP Tommy.
MEP Tommy, correction.
I'm right.
So, when did you start the campaign? Because I've been following your campaign for about a week now, and I'm exhausted just watching you do it. When did you start?
About 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, and how are you feeling so far?
Good, it's gone good. It's gone good. I say it's gone good. It's exposed a lot already. It's exposed the fact that there's complete hypocrisy by the media, by the establishment, by politicians. I've been attacked multiple times, violently attacked. You saw what happened in Oldham. We come under attack from everywhere. And the public that are seeing our videos, they've tried to limit that by deleting us and censoring us from everywhere, can see the hypocrisy and see the lies being put out. Like, we come under violent attack on a political rally, and the headlines say, police cars smashed at Tommy Robinson event, clashes at Tommy Robinson event. You read the entire story. You read the entirety of the story. It doesn't make clear at all who were the attackers, who were the aggressors, who the victims were. It leaves it out there so people can witness that and see it and exposes their agenda. Other than that, I'm pretty tired.
Tired, yeah. How's this actually? You have a family, you have kids and a wife. They're not with you during the campaign. How are they taking it with you being away for so long and in these dangerous situations where there's a mob coming at you? How are they taking it?
I don't know. My son's listening. He's getting emotional now. That's what my wife keeps saying. So, but my wife sort of. I don't tell my wife anything. I always say treat.
Until she sees it in the news the next
Yeah,
day.
but she doesn't really follow anything. Purposely doesn't read or follow anything. So, it's not like when we get attacked or something happens, I'm not ringing her up saying, "Oh, this has happened, that's happened." So I think that's the best way that she can deal with it. But obviously, we've been told twice on this campaign by the police that they have intelligence that there's going to be attempts made on our life, which is not great, but it shows the times we're in. We've already shown now that you can't actually hold political rallies in some cities because of the extent of the violence from members of the Muslim community. But the most satisfying thing for me so far has been when I get into these towns and cities and the estates and just the general public, I see how supportive they are. And not just how supportive they are, I see how passionate they are. So I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling relaxed as well.
Yeah.
We're having a good laugh.
Yeah, there's been lots of laughs, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it.
So with these threats happening, what are the police actually doing?
Nothing. So in 10 years, anyone who's followed me for 10 years, lots of people would know when I worked with Rebel, continuously people are threatening to kill me, making videos to kill me. I watched another video yesterday where the man is talking about going to get my wife and going to get my mother, making public videos, and there's no arrests. You get people being arrested every day now by the thought police in this country for Twitter and social media comments, but then it's like they're given a green card. It's like there's a free reign of attack against Owen. And we've seen it. It's been proven. Physical assaults. I just heard that Nigel Farage has been hit with a milkshake today. The man was arrested instantly. When I got a milkshake put over my head by a Muslim in Warrenham, the police dropped him at the train station. The police dropped him off at the train station. So, and I think all that encouragement, and it was celebrated. Attacks against me on this campaign have been celebrated by everyone. All the media.
Even Burger King, I saw, made a post on Twitter that we're selling milkshakes.
Come and get them.
Come and get them, yeah.
Encouraging political attacks and the environment they've created is one of fear. I thank every single person who comes out because where we're going now, we could come under violent attack again, and the likeliness is we will. And the likeliness is that the police won't protect us. And that's the sad state of affairs we're in. And I just hope that people, because you can see how many people are feeling that. I can see why when I walk around the streets, I just hope they vote on the 23rd.
So what actually sparked you, like, what made you actually decide to go into this race? Did you ever think you were going to go into politics in the past? Was this something you thought about?
We had a bet. I always said I'm not a politician. And I always said I don't want to be a politician. And I was hitting the media. And I think that really, their censorship and removal of me from everywhere, they've sort of took my voice away from me. One moment, when I was released from the Old Bailey after my court case was thrown out, this is for the contempt case, I went for dinner at the House of Lords. I was invited by Lord Pearson. And I watched the reaction of all the politicians. And I watched their utter contempt for us. The way they spoke about me, the lies they told under parliamentary privilege about me, and they're sneering. And I remember sitting when I watched that, and I genuinely thought, no, one day I'm going to sit amongst all of you. Because I watched us, we have 650 MPs, and not one of them speaks for the average person's concerns, fears, talks about the problems. So I remember that point then, I thought, you know what? I want to go into politics when I watch that. I want to get involved in there. And I'm realising as well, when I was in prison, I was sitting, you've got a lot of time to think. So I was thinking. They don't care if we have 100,000 people march. They don't care until we take their seats to their parents. And until we get organised. And essentially this 4 weeks, which if we do this, it's been over 4 weeks with everything stacked against us. Every other candidate I'm up against has social media. Every other candidate I'm up against can spend £360,000 on their campaign. Every other candidate isn't under attack by the press, isn't under attack by Muslim gangs, isn't being silenced, having police interference in their election campaign. Every other candidate, if we manage to do this in 4 weeks, it will, I think, inspire people across this country to realise it's on. I want this to be like, now we're talking, now it's on. So that's what I want. The 23rd, the results come in on the 26th. I want to stand there and give them some speech and get ready, because we're coming. We're coming. We're going to build it up, and I hope that I hope that this is the spark that's needed.
And whether, depending on how this goes, whether you get the seat or not, I don't want to jinx it.
When?
Yeah, when? Do you see yourself continuing in politics for a long time? What's the end goal?
I do know, yeah. Do you know what it is? I see that I see that so many people. Do you know? Again, I go back to when I was in prison. I used to receive like letters like this every day, that many every day. I had nothing to do. I was in solitary for months. I just sat and read between 5 hours a day. It was non-stop, reading letters, reading and feeling the supporters' emotions and how committed they were, and then also how much they were relying on me, which was pressure. Which was because when all this started 10 years ago, I was speaking for myself. So now I know there's a movement of people relying on me. So I think that this voice, the movement, Tommy Robinson become a movement. The Free Tommy become a movement. I think that movement has to be politicised, and I want to politicise a generation of people from my background, from our estates, from our communities, who aren't interested in politics. We need to get political. We need to fight. And there's no point in marching. So yeah, I'm going to be Prime Minister. Yeah.
Yeah.
And every one of you traitors who have been treasonous for all these years, I'm going to bring you all to book. It's coming.
So what's been the biggest struggle so far with the campaign?
The biggest struggle, Danny Tomo driving.
Yeah, I can second that.
Yeah, that's the biggest struggle. And lack of toilet roll in the house. And no, the biggest struggle, being away from home. Not seeing my kids, not seeing my daughters at dance shows. It's a long way. Do you know what it was? I could have come up and done days here, days there. If I lost this campaign, I'll be hitting myself. So I want to make sure that if I did lose it, there's nothing more I could have done.
Yeah, it's like all in.
Yeah, all in, every day. But it's been fun. It's been fun.
So what's been like the biggest surprise, whether that's negative or positive? What's something like that you weren't expecting that you encountered?
I wasn't expecting Greater Manchester Police to walk a baying mob of hundreds of Muslims wearing balaclavas to a family event where they knew children were, armed with bricks, bottles, to attack it. I just still cannot believe that no media have reported on this. That no media, everyone has twisted it completely. The evidence is all there, the footage is all there. A baying mob of Muslims screaming Allah Akbar will walk for miles and escorted by police to a family event so they can attack and destroy it. And I just can't believe that's allowed to happen. I can't believe it's happened. And I can't believe no one's made a song and dance about it. No one.
Where do you think this is coming from? Whether it's the media or just average citizens, this like obsession with multiculturalism and ignoring the negative sides to it. Where is that coming from? Is that just ignorance, or they don't?
Guilt. Guilt. And I wouldn't say it's average. The majority of people, I believe, realise the problems. The majority. The elite, the media, with their agenda, is to cover up and hide any of these facts, hide any of these problems, which we've witnessed for years. But it's not just that they're not just not reporting on it; they're actively editing and changing the complete narrative and printing fake news completely, misleading headlines, completely distorting the truth of what happened in order to attack and slander me. And I take it as a compliment to how much they fear us. It's not that they fear me; they fear the people. I've been saying the same thing for 10 years, and I wasn't deleted and removed. I all of a sudden got removed, and that's because I got to a point where they knew people are listening to it. I looked at the figures, 60 million people watched my videos in 4 weeks, 173 million people read my tweets. This is going back a year. It's only got bigger and bigger and bigger. That they fear. So they've tried to take us away. Now, if I win this seat, then we're fighting. We just keep fighting. It's an ongoing battle.
How does the country actually take back their rooted values, Western, Christian, Judeo values?
How do we take it back? I'd say first thing has to be installing pride in who we are. If we had pride in ourselves and pride in our country and pride in our state, we wouldn't be letting any of this. But most of us have had that taught out of us, or made to feel guilty, or made to feel ashamed of our actual identity. Especially in working class communities, it's been smashed out of us. I think reinstalling that we should be proud. We should be proud of our history and be proud of our country and not be ashamed. We're from the best country in the world. Being born in England is like winning the lottery of life. We should celebrate. And I think that's the first. If you just install pride back in our people, be the first stepping stone to solving most of the problems. Because if we had pride in ourselves and we wouldn't be allowing any of this to happen. We're allowing it to happen because we've become weak. We don't realise our own strength and who we are and where we come from. And that's why so many people are converting, or so many people are starting to talk different ways. Culture's changing.
The other day, part of your speech, you did mention when you were at Blackpool that you met parents, a father or mother of a girl that was kidnapped, and she was, I think, held hostage for about 2 days.
Yeah, that was in Barrow.
Yeah, and that shook me because I'm not from Blackpool, but when I was a ballroom dancer, I used to go there every year.
Oh, so in Blackpool actually, that was in Barrow. So I met parents in Barrow. That's what I said in my speech, where they said the father messaged me yesterday. His daughter was held in chains, naked, 13 years old, for 2 days in the house. She used to go missing all the time. They've now made arrests. But in Blackpool, going back 10 years, a girl called Charlene Downs was abducted. Her body's never been found. But they had tape recordings of the Muslims from the kebab shop saying that they put her body through the meat grinder in the kebab shop. They were arrested, they got off on the technicality, and they got awarded £250,000 compensation. They're still running takeaways now. In that one small town, there's another girl that's gone missing, never been found. 13 years old she was. There's 100 Muslim-owned takeaways that were named in an intelligence report, a leaked intelligence report, so they don't let the public know this. 100 takeaways that have been used as honey traps to get the girls in, to prostitute them, to rape them. And this has all been happening in every town and city. 78 towns and cities so far where they've uncovered mass gangs like this operating in this exact same way, coordinated across the whole country. Muslim men taking English children and moving them around the country in their thousands. And this is when we first started talking about this 10 years ago, no one believed us. Everyone acted like we were making it all up. Only when the Rotherham report scandal come out did then people think, oh my God, like, they're not lying. Because it sounds so untrue. Like, the police let it happen, and the police don't make arrests. When you hear the stories, it just doesn't sound like it would be true. That there is the power of political threats. It's that powerful that it can. Politicians, government agencies will all stand by and watch as a generation of children are being raped just because they don't think it's all racist.
Whenever I try to talk to protesters pretty much at all your rallies, I'm not always even allowed to go near them. But when I do, I always ask the simple question, of course, why are you here? Because we oppose fascism, because Trump is racist. And then I ask, why is he racist? And they never have answers for me. But when they're online, they will throw a bunch of video clips of you saying things. And to me, clearly, it's out of humor. Whenever somebody gives me proof of racism, it's always a very humorous clip where people are laughing.
You spent a week with us, yeah?
Yeah.
What do we do? All we do is laugh.
Yeah.
And joke and banter and humour. It's what people. It's healthy because otherwise, because this is so depressing. The reality is, everywhere we go and the stories you hear, and the threat of violence all the time, or generally living thinking someone's going to kill you at some point, is that depressing. We turn everything into humour to laugh and banter your way through the days. But They either bring them or they're edited clips. So there's one key one where I'm standing outside and I say, in these houses here are enemy combatants. You see this community and you think it's ordinary Muslims. There's enemy combatants living here. Yeah? They just cut that bit. They use that. But what I actually said is, before they cut it, is I'm standing there after the Manchester terrorist attack, which is a year anniversary in a couple of days. I stood there, went to the estate, Muslim estate. I stood outside the mosque. I said, where I'm standing now, within a 2-mile radius of where I am, 19 terrorists have been killed, suicide attacks, 19 within 2 miles where I am. In these houses here, there are enemy commands. There are. It's a fact. 19 of them within 2 miles. This is a massive problem. But they've cut and edited the bit where I'm talking about the terrorist attack and the fact there's 19, and they just cut and edit that. And then Momentum, who are the Labour Party's propaganda wing, and with huge funding and Hope Not Hate, the far left organisation who tried to frame me for the Panadrama, they then spend so much money just firing these clips on social media that we're not allowed to even counter our argument to because we've been removed, and they just send these across all the public. So when you take little snippets of things I've said and you put them all together the way they have, then they're trying to convince people, but they're lying to people. It's not in context. It's not what I said. That's not how it was said. So yeah, they know what they're doing.
Don't you expect better from the average person when they see these kind of clips? You don't think that?
Oh yeah, the average person doesn't believe it. The average person doesn't believe it. Because I know that. I told a story the other day when I went to a nightclub in London. Bearing in mind they've been propagating and telling everyone I'm a racist for years, media. And I went to a nightclub in London with a couple of my mates from Luton, and they're black lads. And the nightclub we went to, pretty much, there were probably 2 white people in the club. I was one of them. And the reception I got was unbelievable. It was great. Everyone was like, yes, Tommy, how you doing? And I just start laughing all the time because I think, you have had unlimited funding. You've had every newspaper in the country. You've had every politician. Every one of you have been lying about me for years, trying to brainwash the public into believing I'm a racist. And none of them are buying it. The only people who buy it are these people who you see at the demonstrations that you'll talk to. And these people are usually middle class, social misfits, absolute degenerates of society, who all then come together for one day to scream. And their argument is, Nazi scum! That's their argument. That's not an argument. Racist, no, that's not an argument. That's not a debate. That doesn't, just because you sound a Nazi doesn't mean I'm a Nazi. And the point is, which I've watched on your video, when you say, well, explain that, and then it's just, and it's quite funny because it's the same in their head. I can see it happening. Oh, I actually don't know why he's a racist. I've just been told he's a racist, and here I am now on camera.
That's all they need. They just need an attack, the phrase, racist. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
Just as a word.
And but then when you ask them questions, which is why they say, we don't debate. We will. I've just put a video on today. I don't debate with fascists. You won't debate because you'll look this big, because I'll destroy your arguments, and you've got no evidence on what you're saying. But yeah, we're winning.
Yeah. Like what I've noticed when I go and I talk to both sides at a protest or whatever event, I ask everyone the same question: why are you here? But I only get an answer from one side. Your supporters will go on for minutes. If I let them keep talk, they will talk my ear off about why they support you, why they're there, why they think it's important to support you. The other side, they have nothing to say.
No.
It's very.
And it's the same people. And it's the same people. The other side.
Yeah.
Same people each one. They're bussed in. They're paid to be there. What have you thought about our supporters? Because you come here. That's all I'd like to know. Because you come here, you probably didn't know what you come into.
Yeah.
We've never met. You probably watched videos.
Well, I've been following your career for the last few years, I'd say. And if you Google your name, when people ask me who I was, why I was going here, I was even hesitant to say your name because they're quickly Google search. And I say,
oh my God.
Maybe don't Google him, just wait for my videos to come. Yeah. Because it's making my job quite easy because all I have to do is go there and capture what's going on, talk to supporters, talk to people that don't like you, and there it is.
And the stereotype that's given of my supporters is so far out. Yeah. They're just ordinary, lovely people.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
And what's surprised me so much, which is so warming as well, is how many elderly ladies there are. And I'm looking, and they're following everything. And every one of them give me a kiss and cuddle and said, I think you're like my son. And we love it, and I worry for you, and I'm praying for you, and I'm thinking for you. But for me, it's I don't know, what to say, emotional. It's heartwarming, and it completely is. To see how many people care. It's good, yeah. And no matter what, I said, hey, you get time. When was I going? So about a month ago, I just fell at the end of my tether with everything. And then I went and had 1 week away to recharge my batteries. And then that was a week away where I went away, and I generally was feeling at the lowest of the low because I was recharged, I had just everything. I've got all this other stuff. They come to my house, my family, my children are having problems at school, been picked on, comments made to them, all of these things. And then it was that week I went away to think a lot about where I go from now, because I can see the effect it has on my family. And I come back and thought, we're going for it. And that's when I decided to stand in that week. Because I felt like everything, they'd removed me from everywhere. I felt a bit defeated. Went and had a week break and thought, I'm going to come and smash it, get in the middle of every one of you, recharge my batteries, and here we are. Here we are, 3 days away from winning an election. God, these bits are all going to be cut together if I lose. That's what I keep saying. If I lose, I would be able to make the goldest video ever against me and make me look like such an idiot. So, good luck. Hope not hate with that one, yeah?
So your kids have actually been bullied at school because of who their father is.
My son was 9, and he had 12-year-olds come up to him, threatening to stab him with their hoods up, covering their faces, because of who their father is. And I went to all the kids' houses. They were young black lads. None of them were from Luton. They've all come from London. Uganda, was it? A lady had come from Uganda. And the mother, I knocked on the mother's door. She was such a nice lady. She was absolutely distraught. When I said, your son's threatening to stab mum. And the boy was there. I said, when I got to, and he was terrified. He was like, oh. I said, mate, what is this about? And he said, oh, because of racism. I said, most of my friends are blacker than you. Yeah? And when I went through it all, this is why I get so angry with the media. Because their lies have an effect, not just on me, on my kids. The lies and the words Nazi and the words racist, which have none of these 3 kids who are picking on my son were Muslims, which is insane. There are 3 young black children who have been lied to by media and the government and politicians everywhere, and that's then having a detrimental effect on my kids' safety because of their lies.
It's like the media is almost like raising a whole next generation of people that are to hate, that actually think that they're
Nazis going around.
To go into European Parliament. That's not what it is.
And we need to stop them. And they just, like Kim Fortuyn, the Dutch politician, he got a cake thrown in his face like I had a milkshake thrown over me. That's where it starts. He ended up getting shot dead. And the man that killed him was a leftist, and he thought he was making
2 minutes, guys. I need to change my battery of the controller.
Because the media had attacked him for so long, and basically said that he was the next Hitler when he wasn't.
2 seconds. Just need to pause this. I'll pause this video for a minute, and then I can carry on with it. Just give me a second. Turn off this controller. It's annoying when your controller dies, isn't it? You've got to mess around and change it over. Come on, why is it glitching out? Oh, there we go. 2 seconds. Right. The battery's died on my PS4 controller, so I've had to change them over. If you guys want to know where I've just gone, so right, I'm gonna try and get it back up again. Yeah, it's squeaky chair. chair is just so squeaky. Well, that was a very interesting video. It's quite a long one, but there we are. Let's have a look here. Just going to have a look on here for a minute. See what we're doing here. Try and find what we're looking for. Just like to invite someone to a party chat. Right, so we're going to go into the next one, I think. Going to Theresa May's one, I think we're going to go into next. That's a 28-minute one. I don't know if I've got enough battery. I better check my phone and see how much battery I've got. So I won't be able to film this one as well. Or I probably could. It's a long. This is going to be a long one.
Sides of the Brexit divide. Among the promises, if they pass a withdrawal agreement, the chance for MPs to vote on whether to hold another referendum. There were also offers on workers' rights, environmental protection, the Northern Ireland border, and a customs compromise, but it instantly met a chorus of disapproval from Labour and hardline Brexiteers on the Tory benches. Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, is in Westminster. Gary.
Well, there was a 2-hour cabinet meeting today, actually it was longer than that, but 2 hours on Brexit preceding Theresa May's speech. And in that session, which I'm told was reasonably torrid, there was a bit of a pushback from cabinet ministers against the big, bold offer that Number 10 had put in front of them, a series of options. Those options are the ones that were considered ones that might alienate Tory MPs, were sort of squeezed back. One cabinet minister said we went for the minimalist approach. But even that sort of squeezed back version of bold offer has still managed to alienate an awful lot of Tory MPs. And the bits that were intended to lure over Labour MPs don't seem to be working with them either. So the omens aren't terribly good for 2.5 weeks' time when, presumably, Theresa May will press the button and go ahead with that vote. But right now, you wouldn't be sure it'll happen. Right now, in West London, you can see scenes of a rally that is kicking off for the Birxit party. Maybe Theresa May might just be hoping that the surge which seems on the card for that party might just change some minds amongst Tory critics.
West London live there.
Amongst Labour MPs with pro-Brexit seats. She's also talking about how she's going to go around the country and try and sell what she's unveiled today. But I think the words of one cabinet, the whole idea, the second reading of the bill was, we thought, a dignified basis on which she could leave. Now, I'm not so sure. At the headquarters of PricewaterhouseCoopers in London, watched by 6 floors of employees, Theresa May made out her final attempt to get her Brexit deal through Parliament.
I've tried everything I possibly can to find a way through. I sought the changes MPs demanded. I offered to give up the job I love earlier than I would like. I've listened to concerns from across the political spectrum. I've done all I can to address them. And today I'm making a serious offer to MPs across Parliament, a new Brexit deal.
The big new offer was to pro-Remain MPs. Vote for the first stage of the Brexit bill, and you'll get a chance to back a second referendum.
And if the House of Commons were to vote for a referendum, it would be requiring the government to make provisions for such a referendum, and therefore a withdrawal agreement bill to make it happen. So let it have its second reading, and then make your case to Parliament.
The Prime Minister said she remained deeply opposed to a second referendum, but her hope is that it lures some Labour MPs over. First signs were that it was driving some previously loyal Tories away.
Used about a second referendum, which is the thing which for me is a total red line and completely unacceptable to me or my constituents. So the idea that we could have a situation where the government allows a vote on a second referendum, it passes, and that then, from what I understood, becomes government policy, to me is really very, very worrying.
The third time Parliament voted on Brexit, the streets outside were full of protest. Many will be back if there's a fourth attempt, but there may not be much.
Normal political allegiances, that sense of team play because your leader is asking you to, have gone. They have fallen away.
Labour's Lisa Nandy represents pro-Brexit Wigan. Theresa May's hopes of success rest on winning over her and a few dozen like-minded Labour MPs.
At first glance, it
seems very unlikely that this will be enough to get this through the House of Commons. The chatter in the corridors from both Labour and Conservative MPs with very different views on what should happen with Brexit is that the Prime Minister isn't offering much that is new, and that this will take us back around the same track that leaves us unable to find a resolution.
Cabinet ministers argued over the contents of the bill for 2 hours this morning, pushing back a number 10 attempt to allow Tories a free vote on a second referendum, and kicking out options number 10 had put in front of them, like allowing MPs a vote on a fully fledged membership of the customs union. Even that trimming is not enough for some Tories.
This is worse even than the agreement itself. A second referendum, which has always been against our party's policy. In a nutshell, the big bold offer is already dead on arrival at St Thomas's Hospital across the river.
Brexit Party supporters queuing for a rally in West London tonight. Theresa May might hope, when the results from the European Parliament elections are in, this party's surge might just jolt her critics and maybe some Labour MPs in pro-Brexit seats to back her plan. In Cabinet, the Minister said everyone, even the Chief Whip, said it would be challenging to get this new deal through.
Gary Gibbon reporting. Well, now, earlier I spoke to the Justice Secretary, Conservative MP David Gauke. I started by asking him, is the deal already doomed?
Well, look, I hope that members of Parliament from across the House of all parties look very closely at what the Prime Minister has set out. And it's worth bearing in mind the fundamental position, which is that if you want to leave defeated, then there is a distinct risk that a high possibility we won't be able to leave with a deal, that the choices become real. I think that would be a great pity.
It's not very clear whether this would be a free vote for a second referendum. Obviously, if we're a free vote, that would make a difference.
Well, let's see as and when we get there. But the point.
Well, what's the promise? What's the promise?
Well, what the promise is that there will be a proper opportunity for the House of Commons to debate and vote upon whether there is a referendum, whether there is to use the phrase that some like, a confirmatory vote attached to a deal. And, I make the point to, for example, those opposition MPs who have been campaigning for a second referendum. What vehicle do they have in which they can deliver a second referendum? Well,
Cabinet contemplated no deal.
Well, I think, as you know, John, I think there are real problems with no deal in terms of the impact on British prosperity. Well, what I'm saying is that there are real problems with it, and I don't think that would be the right course of action. So I'm not a supporter of no deal.
Well, are they?
For livelihoods to move, in a single day from one set of trading relationships to another would cause very significant disruption.
But your party may be, your party may just be about to become a no-deal party, led by a no-deal Boris Johnson.
Well, not agreement, Bill.
There is one other certainty, and that surely is that if Mrs May loses this vote, that's it. She goes.
Well, I think the point I would make to that is that nothing like that will change the parliamentary arithmetic. And I do think that we do need to bear that in mind, that it's suddenly not going to change the approach of a lot of people if there is a different Prime Minister. The numbers are still the numbers. But I also recognise the country is getting more polarised,
sure,
and it is getting more difficult. But we should try to find the right way forward.
Polarised is where I wanted to take you, because it is the Chancellor who is saying tonight that the choice may come down to no Brexit or no deal. Which side of that equation would David Gauke be on?
Well, I think he's right that if you take away the option of a deal, then it does become very, very stark.
I mean, surely we need to look for leadership in this matter.
Well, I think I've been very clear about the dangers of no deal. And I do think we do have to set that out as well. That will have a huge impact on public trust in our political system. And what the Prime Minister has done today is set out a way in which MPs will be able to shape that Brexit so they can deliver a deal for the British people, and then we can put this behind us and start to move on to...
Now the Prime Minister has opened the door to a second referendum. Would he vote for it? let's see the terms upon which she's offering the deal. We're going to look at the bill that she's going to produce and we'll study it in detail. We'll take it very seriously. I can't see from what
bill in order to get Brexit done as majority of your constituencies voted for.
Not on the terms that I've seen so far. This is no different from what we were offered in the talks. It isn't the permanent comprehensive customs union that we need. It doesn't look as though we're going to get the security of protection of workers, employment rights and environmental and consumer rights. And again, it doesn't look as though we're going to get the close alignment with the single market that we wanted. So on all those criteria, it doesn't look as though the government has moved.
The Prime Minister has moved. She's made that clear. You acknowledge that. Your policy also is evolving.
I don't think she has moved. I'm sorry, I don't think she has.
Well, she says she's moved on workers' rights, environmental protections. We'll have to see the details of the bill.
We will have to see the detail, but I don't think she has. And if it...
Back in February, you said that you were moving towards a second referendum. I mean, if not now, when?
Well, what we said, and we've been absolutely strict in adhering to our party conference decision, that's the democratic body within our party, which is that to block a bad deal, and which we think Theresa will vote for any deal unless there is a public vote. So yeah, I just can't see this deal going through Parliament itself.
Okay, do you want Brexit to happen, yes or no?
Yeah, we've abided with the living standards of our people.
You're still content to fudge. Where is the evidence that that policy is working?
I don't think we're...
Elections.
Okay, we are trying to bring both sides together. We are.
But where's the evidence that's working?
That is tough. We accept that's tough, and we've got to pursue that because I think that's the only way our country, in the end, will come together, establish the principles of what happened in the referendum. In 6 or 12 months' time, I'll have constituents coming to me who've lost their jobs, and they'll say, where were you when we needed you to protect us?
But you could put that back to the people. You could stop the hemorrhage to the Lib Dems by saying, we may have to, but you could say today, yes, we're going to have a second referendum.
Well, we may have to, and that's why we're saying we want to keep that option there.
So within weeks, you could pledge a second referendum.
We'll see what happens in this current debate. We'll keep that option on the table, and if necessary, yes, we'll go back to the people, but...
Also today, the Electoral Commission visited the offices of Mr Farage's Brexit party to review the way it receives funding. Nigel Farage has denied any wrongdoing.
Approximately £450,000 spent on him by millionaire Aaron Banks to fund a lavish political lifestyle.
You're living the lifestyle of the elite, or you
Party in America are taking no money at all.
Do you need to declare any of that?
No, it's local politics.
So no cash, but an admission that he may have used a house worth more than £4 million, which Aaron Banks' company had leased, and attendance at parties in the US, more than he would admit last Friday.
Did you receive up to £450,000 a year after the referendum?
Unfortunately not. It would have been if it was true, it would be lovely.
Did he pay for your flat?
It would have been lovely.
Rights? Did he pay for you to go to the States?
Where I went on holiday and what my private arrangement.
This is the moment Mr Farage found out.
Did he? Well, let me tell you something. Whatever happened after the referendum, I was leaving politics. It happened mostly in America. Had nothing to do with politics. Nothing to do with the Brexit Party. It was purely on a personal basis.
Whether personal or political, the European Parliament President today said that this will now be referred to. The concerns were raised that multiple small donations can be made to the party anonymously without its origin being checked. An issue, though, that affects all political parties. If it exceeded £500, they didn't need to worry about it. The Electoral Commission say they will investigate whenever they find evidence of attempts to evade the controls on donations. Nigel Farage.
Well, now, during this European election campaign, Channel 4 News has asked to speak to the leaders of every main British political party. Free remains open. One party leader that is joining us now from Edinburgh is Scotland's First Minister and SNP leader, Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon, you've been calling...
Well, there's no guarantee of a second referendum being offered by Theresa May. What she wants people to do is vote for her deal, which would take us out of the EU, out of the single market, probably out of the customs union as well, on some vague promise of giving the House of Commons a vote on a second referendum. That's not something that SNP MPs are prepared to vote. Message loudly and clearly that we're not for Brexit, we want Scotland to remain in Europe.
Well, 1 million Scots did vote for Brexit. What do you say to SNP voters who want Brexit more than they want an independence referendum? What's to stop them voting for the Brexit Party?
Well, I don't think that will happen. If you look at recent polls in Scotland, the overwhelming majority of people voted against Brexit. And if the referendum was to be held again, I think that number would be even higher on this occasion. Now, both of remaining and in favour of leaving the European Union. And they're fooling nobody and hemorrhaging support and respect, actually, as a result. So the SNP is being straight and straightforward with people. We're not for Brexit, in line with the majority of the people of Scotland, and we want to see a stop to Brexit.
Okay, so be straight with me now. You're not going to give Theresa May a lifeline. Labour isn't either. Many of her own MPs won't either. So she's entering her final days in number to hold a second independence referendum.
Well, I've already stated my intentions on this. Later this month, we will introduce legislation in the Scottish Parliament to start the process of putting in place the rules for an independence referendum.
By 2021, though, it's a long way off.
3 years. The efforts at an earlier stage of this process of the Scottish Government to find some common ground and compromise with Theresa May, have been completely disregarded by Westminster.
To be absolutely clear then, if Boris Johnson enters number 10, do you bring forward that 2021 notional date for an independence referendum? Would you do it earlier if he's number 10?
I think that is a distinct possibility. I actually said this in an interview last week. Now, what I also said is we have to pass the legislation. I am determined, just as was the case in the 2014 independence referendum, that in stark contrast to the Brexit referendum, the Scottish people in other parts of the UK horrified at the prospect, not just of Boris Johnson, but any of these Brexiteers who misled people in 2016 becoming Prime Minister.
Nicola Sturgeon, thank you very much for joining us. Well, here are a list of parties and independent candidates standing in the European parliamentary election in Scotland.
UK Change, Conservatives, Greener, Labour.
Expected to send shockwaves across the continent. Our Europe editor, Matt Fry, is in Villeblevin, south of Paris, and he's there for us now. Matt.
Trying to charge the phone up while we're speaking. It's on low battery.
It's so different to the metropolitan centre of the country. What National, young enough to be my son, and he was on stage earlier talking about all the things that actually anyone who supports Brexit or Nigel Farage would also agree with. In other words, Europe has become too corrupt. It's the Europe of the elites. We need to get back to the Europe of nation states. We need to get rid of Schengen. We need to end the intransparency of Brussels, globalization. This is the kind of, the rhetoric that we've heard from Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella over and over again. The one key difference is that they don't want to leave the EU. They don't even want to leave the euro. They want to stay very much inside the European tent and hollow it out from inside.
Bah, écoutez, il n'y a pas de raison qu'on puisse pas le faire. Il n'y a pas de raison qu'on puisse pas le faire, puisque sur toute une série de sujets, nous partageons évidemment.
Vous n'êtes pas des bons amis, non?
Bon, les choses se sont améliorées. C'est ça qui fait la grandeur, je crois, d'un homme politique ou d'une femme politique. On ne fait pas de la politique uniquement en fonction de ses affections, mais en fonction de l'intérêt du pays.
Alors, une alliance avec M. Farage, c'est possible.
Mais nous verrons bien. Est-ce que M. Farage pourra refaire un groupe? C'est pas sûr. En tout cas, nous tendons la main à tous ceux qui partagent les critiques que nous formulons à l'égard de l'Union européenne et qui ont envie de changer les choses, même si nous savons que les Britanniques ne sont pas là pour très longtemps.
Il y a une enquête à Bruxelles sur les frais de M. Farage.
Ah bah tiens, ça m'aurait étonné. Alors, à qui le tour? L'Italie, l'Autriche, la France, à qui le tour? C'est pas une conspiration, c'est l'utilisation assez minable par des gens qui ont peur de perdre leur pouvoir, des moyens qui sont à leur disposition. Voilà, c'est hélas tristement humain.
Now, Marine Le Pen is no longer the new kid on the block. She's a veteran of French politics and a mistress at political reinvention, from the party's name to the party's message. And her latest ploy, the 23-year-old candidate who now tops her party's list in the European elections. He looks great. He's very, very young, attracting very much the kind of young followers of his party. And I asked him whether this kind of new image was basically masking what was essentially still an Islamophobic and xenophobic politics. Qu'est-ce que vous dites aux personnes qui disent qu'au cœur, même si vous avez...
qui sont attachés à leur territoire. Vous savez, on peut être issu de l'immigration. Moi, j'en suis issu aussi. Aimer son pays, à condition d'avoir fait l'effort de s'intégrer, de s'assimiler. Moi, chez moi, quand j'étais jeune, je suis d'origine italienne, mais on parlait français. Et il n'y a pas de raison que les générations d'après soient dispensées de cet effort.
The key thing to remember is that this kind of place, and there are thousands of depopulated towns like this is where the battle for the soul of France, and therefore also the soul of Europe, is currently being fought. And as we said earlier, Macron's France and Marine Le Pen's France are very much neck and neck.
Well, that was an interesting video. I must say, it was quite a long one as well. I had to keep charging my phone up with the wire. So, yeah. Please, like I say, I'll be doing another one like this soon. Thank you for joining me. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a great night. Peace. I'll be back soon. Don't worry about that.